could have sat around and did nothing, paid attention to us when we said we're bullish, and caught the meat of the move. Pretty cool.
GM friends, and thanks for joining TA Tuesday every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. In today's call, we are going to do a yearly roundup and project into 2024 what we think the market will look like in crypto and legacy. With that, I'll bring up Eddie to continue the show.
All right, so let's look at the year, starting with Bitcoin. Bitcoin had a pretty good year. So looking here at the yearly chart, there's not a whole lot that you can gain from it. I would be surprised if we can push up here and close above. Obviously, that would be like ultra bullish. I just don't really see that happening though. So there's not a whole lot to do from the weekly standpoint, but maybe if we go down to the monthly, obviously we had a pretty good year on Bitcoin. So if we start from today at 163%, not bad for a year, especially a year when so many people at the beginning of the year thought that it would be a bad year for risk. 163% on Bitcoin at time of recording is pretty boss. Obviously, we had the Bitcoin ETF narrative, which helped push it a lot, specifically in Q4. And again, if you're paying attention to our server and our streams, pretty much nailed this reversal right on Q2. So you could have sat around and did nothing, paid attention to us when we said we're bullish, and caught the meat of the move. Pretty cool. As far as what I think Bitcoin's going to do this next year, within the next month, we're going to have the ET decision, most likely approval, right? And so going down to the lower time frame, when that happens, I think it's a pretty obvious thing of what we'll see. So I'm just going to come up here. Let's say that we get the news that it's going to get approved. Depending on where price is at, you'll probably get all the news traders buying it, get a few percent, anywhere from 3 to, I don't know, maybe 7% to move. And then I'll probably sell off because they'll sell the news traders. And then I'll probably just bottom around and just slow grind up 24 with obviously your dips and your rips. But I think it'll perform well. There's going to be other things that perform better. I guess my projection for the year is something like that. A sharp spike up on the approval, a sharp spike down on the after everybody sells the news of it, and then just slow grind up for 2024. Obviously, your occasional bull market, 10 to 20% dips that we get that you load up on, probably altcoins. So that's most likely what I think is going to happen with the price action. As far as like price targets, I'm not really one to do price targets like that. It's just most likely higher, right? I think this next year, specifically the first quarter, potentially the second quarter, is going to be Ethereum's year. It's already showing its hand, outperforming Bitcoin by the day, about 1% move and 5% moves. That's pretty significant. We talked about this too, buying into this macro accumulation, range breakout and retest. So if you follow that plan and you just slowly buy spot into this, you're positioned really for when everybody decides that the idea that we've been mentioning as far as Ethereum being the play after the BTC ETF approval, it's going to be the play, right? And obviously people are finally catching on to that too. And we were basically buying the bottom of it if you got in. I didn't get all the fills I wanted to. I'm only in 20% for this trade, but still it's 20% at basically a price that most likely we'll see again. So as far as what I think Ethereum, hold on, let's look at Ethereum year in review, but I want to do it on a different chart. Ethereum basically did the same thing as Bitcoin, where Q4 is really where it took off. In the year, we saw at time of recording a 97% move, so it was weaker than Bitcoin. That was expected. If you pay attention to previous cycles, Bitcoin always leads, and then Ethereum does the next leg, and we're basically setting up for that again. So I already mentioned it, but what I think will happen, higher prices obviously, but I think from now until right before the ETF for Ethereum is approved, it's going to outperform Bitcoin. I do predict that we'll see new highs in Ethereum if not in 24 and 25. It's hard to know exactly when. I'm not the type of person who can forecast like that, but it just makes sense for it to come in and make a new high at some point within the next year or two. That's what I see happening for it. You should be positioned already now for this trade. If you're not, I don't know what to tell you, pay attention. But same thing can happen at this point now if you want Ethereum exposure still, forecasting. But so I would just keep this plan. You start getting any dips towards these levels again, just buy your Ethereum. The intraday trades are going to be the Ethereum related coins that I'll just brush up on towards the end, because those are going to outperform Ethereum. So yeah, this is looking, I don't think that's going to get tested again, but if it does, that's your chance to buy it if it comes into this level or below, obviously, as the old plan. Also been looking at this for quite a while now. Let's look at Ethereum to BTC yearly really quick. I'm going to pull up a clean chart just because, okay, cool. So we already know just from looking at the last chart that Ethereum has held in the year. The next time a stream, it's underperformed by about 23, but this is probably going to flip. So I've been talking about this as coming into this macro support for a while now, and it looks like it's finally starting to flip around, especially on the monthly. That's a really healthy monthly chart, especially if it continues these next couple days to go a little bit higher. If it can close up there, that'd be really crazy, but it's looking really good for basically the plan that I've had for a while now is starting to fruition. Still same idea. If we ever get the sweep into this low, as soon as it reclaims, you just go super heavy into all Ethereum related. And then it's always very easy to know when to rotate out, because as you start approaching this 0.1 level, all the Ethereum maxis, they're just super annoying. And pretty much 100% of the time when they're overly obnoxious and annoying, it's time to get out. It's been like an incredibly great hit rate when you notice that everybody is just being super annoying about their Ethereum. And it's doing really well on it. And if you can get above that too, then it has such easy catalyst to do that. The Bitcoin ETF their trade is coming to an end. I think most people that were in that trade have probably de-risked by now, which is why when it's approved, you'll get a small pump that will probably get faded. And Ethereum is starting to pick up because everybody who was ahead of the Bitcoin ETF trade, now they're positioning to get ahead of the Ethereum one. So it's going to be the next 1 to 2 quarters. Most likely it'll outperform. And then my prediction is that Ethereum will flow back into Solana again. That's just what I think today. Who knows what the market's going to look like 6 months from now. Maybe we can look at a recap after Q2 or something and get some ideas. So just to look at total really quick as well, or this is total 2. Actually, I want to look at total 3 first. Basically looks the same, but the exciting thing about this is it's broken out of its high time frame accumulation range, which we've monitored really closely for a while and talked about getting bullish on it, and it's performed really well. I think on your favorite alts, any dips that you get, you just want to buy them. And the cool news about this is it still has so much room to run. Like, why wouldn't it come up and take out these highs? It makes sense to do that. Probably see some price action like this. And then if you get one of these, then that's when you get super excited, right? But that's most likely what total 3 is going to do. It's probably going to come up here. I don't see it dipping back down below this range again if it does, but we're just getting started, I think. Total 2, so this one has Ethereum in it. It basically looks the same, and it's the same idea. Like, we haven't hit these highs yet. We most likely are going to. I think there's a chance that this one does dip back below here. Like, I don't really know where this line is from or why I put it there. Maybe it's on a weekly or a daily chart. So let's zoom down a little bit. I think that it could come down one more time on the total 2 chart. So any retest into this is another chance to get into Ethereum and Ethereum related coins, in my opinion. But it should go higher for the next year and add a good run up too. I'm not going to do this on the total 3 chart, but just to put into perspective, but we basically have gone up 85% on the total 2 market cap on the year, which is pretty exciting, especially considering if it goes the way I hope it does, maybe another retest into here, but we still have another move to make and potentially higher, which, since I believe that Ethereum will make new highs, like this most likely will too. Again, I can only look at a level at a time. It's too hard for me to just, aim up here when we're right here, because we have all this to get through first. Sol had a really big year. This was an obvious play too. I wasn't a part of DeFi-Logic at the time, but I remember when this wasn't this year, but when FTX capitulated, that was such like an obvious time to buy Solana, the lows, because the people who had so much ties to them, obviously everybody knows the story of them, and they were forced to sell so much of it. So it was such an obvious play. But, excuse me, from January to this year, one of the strongest performing altcoins. At time of recording, 1,126% move. High of this year was another 200% on top of that. So I do think it's going to keep going, but this isn't a time to FOMO into Sol because, like I was saying, I'm pretty sure Ethereum is going to outperform Sol, and we should have a pretty nice dip. Hopefully, I'm guessing that it's going to be the same thing with the Bitcoin maxis and the Ethereum maxis, how they shit on each other. Ethereum and Solana ones, I think, are going to be the same thing. Like all your Solana moon boys are going to be basically freaking out as we're coming into a really high time frame test. That's when most likely Ethereum ETF has probably been approved or it's about to be or whatever. If the stars align perfectly and that's happening when we're right here, it's again such an easy play to get in. You just pile into Sol and Sol coins, right? But that probably won't happen until like mid next year, I'm thinking. We'll see. So long story short, don't buy Sol up here. It's going to come down lower. You can get back in and it's going to make new highs. I'm almost certain of. Obviously, you can't call anything a sure thing, but a lot of times in crypto, things are like self-fulfilling prophecies. So many people have talked about the Ethereum and Solana fractal. We're going to make it come true. So it's going to go higher, in my opinion. I don't see why it wouldn't. It's far better than Ethereum, but we'll see what the market thinks. So anyways, you really don't want to be buying here though. Then I'll move on from this. It's at this huge resistance zone. If it gets above this level, this 125 area, when you get like a daily close above, and at that point, if I were to be very safe about it, probably start to DCA as we hit the 60. But ideally, I want all the way down here, this test at 48. That's what I want to happen, is one of those. And then that's when you just buy as much as you can, in my opinion, because it's going to perform better than Ethereum once it gets to that point. If it does, who knows if it will. So that's the plan for Sol. In a high time frame area with new highs, too, the next 2 years, most likely. Injective is like a new coin that performed extremely well this year as well. And this one's most performed better than Solana because it's the whole thesis of the new shiny stuff is going to do better than the stuff from the last cycle. It just always happens that way. I'm just going to delete this real quick. If we look at the year it had from January to right now, it's already tripled what Sol has done. And most likely this continues. This last month has been insane. I think the Injective airdrops will be really lucrative as well. If you want to play those, we need to probably do like a deep dive as far as which ones are the best Injective airdrops to get a hold of, because I think that's going to be really good money. As far as what it will do, it's so hard to know right now. This coin is in price discovery. Like you can make an argument to buy it for just like an intraday trade right now. If you stop being here and just target new highs, that's basically what I've been doing on this lately, is just buying the dips and targeting the high. And then I leave a little bit running with like my stop at break even after I take some profit, just in case it does break out again. It does look toppy. It's not really smart to trade against the trend, and we're in an uptrend. So shorting this wouldn't personally do, but it does look like it's forming a top for now. And it does make sense with Ethereum picking up that this should cool off a little bit. I think that if you can get below these lows, it'd be probably safe to start DC into it. Because I'm sure there's a lot of people that have stop losses right here, because it's such an obvious area. So if price starts to test it, people will start to puke. So I think you can really buy any of this. Most likely that's how I'll play it. Just slowly buy this entire zone. And if I can get all the way down here, flips 10% of your allowance for this coin, another 10%, another 10%, another 10%. And then once it starts performing bullish price, let's say you're only in 40% when it does one of these and it shifts the structure, that's when you just do the rest. So that will be my plan with it, is start buying into here slowly. If I get all the way down to here, it'll probably be like 50% with the chance of it coming down lower. then wait for the structure shift to go all in if I'm not all in already. Makes sense? Yeah. Now, these next ones I just wanted to brush over because with the Ethereum play coming in, they're already showing that they are performing well. And I've talked about this for a while now. It's really nice to see the idea playing out. Ethereum related coins are going to run harder than Ethereum for the ETF narrative play, right? You just want to buy dips on things like Arbitrum, even Ethereum proof of work, which for some reason is like related to this as well, is performing really well too. You know, a few others, these are just a couple that I wanted to mention really quickly. I don't want to dive too deep into plans for them for now. Just look to be buying dips into obvious levels of support, right? That we can maybe go into more setups on this stuff on the next stream. That's my plan for the next 3 to 6 months, is to play the Ethereum ETF trade and then shift into Solana once that one's over. At least for now, that's my plan. But with that, I will pass this back on over to you guys.
Rotations, man. Rotations, the rotations. Yeah, and something that you were saying about Injective, another big thing with Injective and why it's so strong is it plays into the interoperability narrative. So it's not only a shiny new coin. It's been out since early 2021, but it really didn't pump as hard as it has until this year. I think the interoperability narrative for a lot of these coins is going to be a big thing, and it's something that is actually needed. It's a logical narrative for people that understand what's necessary for crypto to be what it can be. All right, thanks, Eddie. And with that, we will bring up G-Force to tell us what he thinks about the legacy market.
Okay, thank you, Peter. The legacy markets have just been ripping and going higher and higher for the Santa Claus rally that we just had, and things are moving good. It's what I talked about since the first part of November, and it just keeps climbing from there. So right now, if we look at what the S&P has done this year, up to year to date, it's been up 25%. Okay, 24 to be exact, but 25. So we had a pop since the beginning here. Back in the end of October, it's just run up. It's just continually run up. It's on parabolic. So as of right now, it's up 24 to 25%. It's trading right now at 47.77. Now, what's happened is that is a high that it has had way back in January 3rd of 2022. I'll show it here on a weekly. So it's already at that point. 2-year high. So what's going to happen now is we have a huge election coming up in 2024. That's a massive election. So that is a situation where the markets are going to be propped up. Okay, they are going to be propped up because they don't want the economy to be an issue in a 2024 election. They don't want the economy to be an issue pretty much in any election since the 1980s. They've gotten away from that, and they basically want the election to be the current president to be supported economically. Things aren't as bad as everybody says they are. They're not as bad as the opponent says they are, whoever the opponent is, whether it's Trump or DeSantis or whoever on the Republican side. The Fed has done a decent job. Everybody is starting to go into the soft landing narrative. We'll take a look at that. The U.S. 10-year yield in a minute. I'm going to get back down to the dollar index here, moving to the dollar index because it's been dropping. As cryptos, especially ETH right now, is popping, things have just been, the dollar index has been dropping significantly. So it's been supporting that inverse correlation theory that's been going on quite a bit. So what I'm going to do here is show you what the DXY is doing, and it's going to show, this is a daily, it's going to show right here. It's dropping again, it's at a low again. I think it's going to go all down to what it was here back in July. So the dollar index is going down, crypto is going to go up, especially what Eddie said about Ethereum and other coins. You can see all these down arrows that has 2, 3, 6. It's just dropped. And it is going to get down to this in July, this bottom here. So look at that. That's crypto bullish. Things are just going to go up. The dollar index, I think, is just going to stay sideways because for 2024, because if it gets any lower, then it's going to have some issues. There's going to be some currency issues. But a low dollar means that U.S. corporations are doing well. They're able to sell their goods overseas a lot better. So again, it goes to the same narrative of propping up the economy, making the economy not an issue in the 2024 election. So we know what the issues are going to be in that election, and looks like it's still going to be the same Biden-Trump election, which I have a hard time accepting, but it's what America asked for. So anyway, I don't want to get political here. We're talking about markets, but it looks like it's going to be a rematch. It does look like it's going to be a rematch. Okay, moving on to the U.S. 10-year yield, you can see that it's dropped as well. And just like the dollar has dropped, it's just gone down. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 lows, and I'm going to wait for this low because I think it's going to get down to this Bollinger Band here, which is basically 3.76. Okay, just because it's retreating now doesn't mean we're not in a 30-year upcycle on interest rates. We are in a 30-year upcycle on interest rates. So just like the stock market, it's going to go back and forth for first part of this year and most of this year, and the Fed was fighting the inflation, and we see how damaging it can be. So this election here, you're just going to keep it propped up. So I expect yields here to start doing what is buying into the soft landing narrative now. That, yeah, we're going to have a soft landing. It could be. I'm not against it. It'd be best for the country, but I always have a healthy suspicion on it. I think the issue won't be till after the election. I think everybody's kicking the can down the road. We see Congress kicking the budgeting issues down the road. Everything's getting kicked down the road. It seems to be working. So we'll see, especially again with the election in 2024, it'll get kicked down the road on that. Going to gold has just been doing what I thought it would do. It is definitely coming up. You can see today it's at 2080. I've been looking at gold. It's been interesting. I've been in TA Tuesdays, which we're on right now, talking about gold. That was actually interesting. Here's the chart here, first part of October. It's just rallied up. Okay, it's just rallied up. We have some wars going on, and it's 2000 level right here, as you can see, back end of October. Then it's pulled back, and again, it went back to this 80 support line that I thought, and it went way down. It shook out a lot of bumps right here. Went further down than I thought. And then at that point, it's just rallied back up to the 1980 level, hit that 2000 level, rallied right back up 2070, dropped back down, which it's supposed to do, and it dropped back down past 2000. And here was a point right here. I wasn't too sure. Was it going to go back and 1980 would be support this time, or would it drop all the way back down here to the 1938 level? That day right there, on the 13th of December, this month, it just answered that question and just rallied up. Okay, so it just blew past that. That day was $48 move in gold, and that's a huge move in gold. And then it pulled back a little bit, that standard deviation line, and then it just has had a Santa Cruz rally just like the markets have, the legacy markets. I think gold is probably going to pull back again, and it's just going to keep going up and up. The markets are going to flatten out because markets don't like uncertainty because of the 2024 election. So they're going to flatten out. They'll have some ups, they'll have some downs. Gold will continue to climb higher because everybody goes into the safe haven. So when there is uncertainty, people climb into gold, and I think it will go higher. It will probably could touch the 2100 level. I think that's a strong possibility. It's going to fall back, and it's going to do the trading thing. Everything does a trading thing. If you look at this, gold is supposed to be stable, but look at this parabolic run since October. This is very unusual for gold. This is very historic for gold. So that's where things are at right now, and that's what I think. I think that for 2024, the legacy markets are going to flatten out because it doesn't like uncertainty with the election. I think gold is going to climb. slowly. I think crypto is going to get better. I agree with Eddie on his analysis of Bitcoin and with those. I think everything's going to go well on the crypto side. Okay, I'll hand it back over.
Cool beans. Thanks, John. Yeah, Trill saying in the chat, how are they going to get a soft landing with the value of the dollar going down? Yeah.
Not too sure. Yeah, I'm not everybody's buying into it.
Yeah, it's the funniest thing how people in government pretend like they're different than everybody else and their narratives are legit when everybody else's narratives aren't legit. I mean, I think we saw that with the crypto bad Elizabeth Warren and the Republican from Kansas thing where he was talking shit about crypto is only for criminals, this, that, and the other. And then they reference Jamie Dimon, of all people, who said, you know, in testimony with Elizabeth Warren that crypto is for criminals. And it's, dude, Jamie Dimon is an actual criminal. They had to pay out in Epstein lawsuits hundreds of millions of dollars. With all these things, you got to take it with a grain of salt if you really pay attention. You know, the narratives in crypto, they're just as equal and valid as any other narrative. Some of them are stupid, some of them are legit. You just got to sift through it and figure out what is worth paying attention to and what is not worth paying attention to. So whether it's crypto or the US dollar, hey, it's going to be the same thing. That's how I look at it.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, thanks, John and Eddie. Thanks to the other guys that are here with us today. Pleasure having you here with us and in the server. If you're not in the server, go ahead and jump in. Link is in the description below. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next Tuesday at 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, GM friends.
Join us next week in Discord for TA Tuesday at DeFi-Logic.com.